Have you ever wanted to bounce your way through a basement along with dat base meant to guide you along your perilous journey? Well, that's exactly what Crypt of the Necrodancer is, so let's break it down and see if it's a melodious quest or a discordant mess. Crypt of the Necrodancer stars Cadence, an ambitious woman who's had a spot of bad luck and died in this dude's crypt. While saved from death, she's now stuck here, moving to the beat of her own magically preserved heart until she gets it back. A process which will prove to be a long and involved journey, and that's where the game comes in. It's a turn-based dungeon crawler that moves to the music, so if you miss a beat, you forfeit your turn. This system makes up the game's core rhythm roguelike fusion mechanic. Unless you have a particularly poor sense of rhythm, staying on beat usually isn't too difficult, as everything, even the character animations, are synced to the music. Level by level, you'll hear different music, each with a higher tempo than the last, resulting in a pretty smooth difficulty curve. But it is a dungeon crawler, and that means you're gonna get a bunch of extra items and spells and all these things which require other inputs. And that's probably gonna be pretty tough to manage while staying on the beat, right? The controls are simple. Everything is operated by the arrow keys on a keyboard, face buttons on a controller, or if you're a super cool kid, you can use a dance pad. Hitting any of the 4 cardinal directions will move one tile or attack if an enemy is in range. Spells and items are activated by combining 2 keys, as noted under their HUD icon. Depending on how familiar you are with rhythm games, this control scheme could take some getting used to, but it's an elegant solution to what could have been pretty freaking annoying. There's no use for a fancy control scheme and booty-shaking beats if the dungeon crawling mechanics aren't fun, so let's dig into those, shall we? Crypt of the Necrodancer is a dungeon crawler roguelike, meaning it features permanent death and randomized level layouts, enemies, and item spawns. It's designed to be played forever, or I guess until you die, and despite being an early access game, it's got enough content to last a very, very long time. There are tons of items to use like armor, weapons, rings, and spells to find, and a decent amount of events to encounter like giant enemies, secret rooms, or special shrines. The dungeon crawling itself is fairly standard, but the subtle complexities of dealing with particular enemies depending on which weapon you have makes for an engaging challenge. Crypt of the Necrodancer is a fusion of rhythm and dungeon crawling, and it's not just a gimmick, it's actually taken advantage of in a few different ways. A central mechanic to dungeon crawling is, as in real-life crawling, collecting money. Money is your score, and money is money. You use it to buy things. Duh. Killing successive enemies without taking hits or missing a beat, however, will build up a coin multiplier to net you more money. This incentivizes you to keep up with the music, along with the fact that enemies get a free turn if you miss a beat. There are even certain items whose efficacy is based on your multiplier value. Having to move to keep your multiplier results in the removal of a key dungeon crawler mechanic: waiting. That sounds dumb, because waiting isn't particularly fun, but dungeon crawlers have always required an element of patience due to the complexity of fighting various enemies at the same time. But since you can't just jog in place here to force the enemies to move, you have to do something. But if you're feeling particularly non-committal, just go for a dig. Along with your weapon, you've got a shovel, and every time you dig, that counts as a turn, just like moving or attacking. At higher levels of play, this mechanic is integral to survival, and adds depth to the passing of turns beyond just the beat. It's that rhythm roguelike fusion that makes this game compelling to learn about and exciting to play. Crypt of the Necrodancer takes an interesting approach to its early game. At first, all that will be available is Zone 1, and you'll play and die until you beat each of the 3 levels and the boss to access the next zone. By finding hidden diamonds and giving them to the various vendors in the lobby, you can send new items into the dungeon. This system eases you into each monster and item at a steady pace, resulting in a better understanding of how to survive longer. For roguelike newcomers and veterans alike, this is pretty helpful. Most roguelikes throw you into their systematic level by level, one life permadeath system headfirst so hard you could get a concussion. Once you're ready, though, you can jump into hardcore mode, which is the game at its finest and most difficult. With the zone system, you can increase your base health, allowing you to make more mistakes, but in hardcore you start with 2 hearts and gaining more is very rare. That said, even though it's hard, the game is always fair. Everyone plays by the same rules, so your deaths always feel like your fault, which admittedly does result in some frustration. Crypt of the Necrodancer delivers on both the rhythm and the dungeon crawling aspects of its premise. The soundtrack is solid, but by any chance, if you get tired of it, there's actually a beat matcher built into the game, so you can use your own music if you want to. Now remember, this is an early access game, and while most of the content is done and the game is entirely playable and glitch-free, there's still one last zone to be completed, as well as a bunch of extra characters that haven't been released yet. But as far as what you're going to be playing for the $15, it is way worth it. I put in 20 hours already, and I just beat the game once. I did it like 10 minutes ago. So, I'd say it's worth your time. And thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed Snack Time. Thank you very much for watching. I think I said that already. But, one thing. I know I'm changing my show constantly, so I apologize if you're getting whiplash. But, if you have any comments about this format or anything else, really, please do leave them in the bottom thing where the comments are. Couldn't think of the word comment section for a second. And don't forget to like the video if you liked the video. Also, watch these people's videos. They may be mine, they may be someone else's, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. But give them a watch. Really appreciate that. Have a great day.